Chancellor of Austria.
What an honor. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Mr. Minister. It's an honor to be here. It's always a pleasure to see you, but it's an honor to be here at this amazing conference. I'm so happy to see so many friends of Israel here in Jerusalem, and I have a lot of hope after this speech for the future of Brazil as well.
So what does it mean actually for you to speak here in Jerusalem about anti-Semitism?
Well, first of all, it's always special for me to be in Jerusalem. It's a special place, a special city for the Jews, but also for me as a Catholic. Of course, Jerusalem is something important and very special. So I don't come here regularly, but I always enjoy being here. What most people, I guess, don't know is that after I left politics, I started together with an Israeli company in Tel Aviv. So I come every month to Tel Aviv since I left politics. So I'm quite close to Israel in my new life. But unfortunately not that often to Jerusalem. But coming here is always amazing. And being at a conference like this, where so many people are united in their fight for Israel, in their fight against anti-Semitism, that is something I enjoy a lot, and it's a great honor to be here. Thank you very much, Mr. Minister, for inviting me.
So, you know, we have a small connection, family connection. So in 2018, you made a special event in Austria for 80 years for Kristallnacht. And you have invited the grandpa of my wife, who is a Holocaust survivor from Vienna, for a conversation, and I showed you the picture before. And what I learned from his experience with you, it's not just a talking point of a politician for you, it's something from your heart. So what is your personal connection? Why do you feel about it? Not only doing something about it, but feel it from your heart. What's there?
To be honest, after so many years, it's probably difficult to say, but I think my first real experience was at school when we had the honor to meet two Holocaust survivors who told us their stories, what they went through, what their families went through. And if you are 16 or 17 years old, if you're Austrian and you're at school and you meet two Holocaust survivors talking about what they had to go through during the Nazi regime, it felt very unpleasant. It's not something positive. It's difficult for a young 16, 17-year-old person to like understand. Yeah, it's difficult to realize. It's difficult to listen. So it was very tough few hours, the conversation with these two people, but at the same time, of course, it was very touching to me. And so a few years later, when I started to get involved politically and when I became the head of the Conservative Youth Organization, I always had the feeling, being active in politics now, that there is a historic responsibility for our whole country, but also for every individual like me being active in politics. And this is the reason why when I became State Secretary for Integration, I started to strongly support the Jewish community in Austria, the Jewish life. I started programs to fight anti-Semitism, and of course I always tried to be supportive to the State of Israel. And this event was something very special also for me, because of course if you come from a country where so many people were killed and so many people had to leave the country because of the Nazi regime, it's not easy to find an appropriate way to reach out to people who lived in Austria but had to flee in these days. And we thought it might be a good step to invite those people who were still alive and show them how Austria looks today, that like the country has changed, that politics have changed, and that there are many people like me who are strong supporters of Israel. And to be honest, we were all very nervous before that day because we didn't know what the reactions would be, and we didn't know like how people would react that have probably been never again in their home country. And to be honest, we were overwhelmed by these positive reactions, because despite all that, which is impossible to imagine, these people had to go through, they all had still something positive or a positive connection with Austria. So plenty of them told me about positive childhood. They told me where they lived, where they grew up. They showed me the places in the city which they knew. Some of them showed me old photos. So it was a very touching day, and I'm very thankful that also people from your family were there in this day.
You say, though, that Europe has changed. And when we are looking right now towards the future, when we analyze what's happening right now in Europe, the question is, did it really change? Or does Jews have future in Europe?
There has to be a future for Jews in Europe, because without Jews, Europe would not be the same. That's why I will always be a strong fighter against anti-Semitism, and will try my best that all Jews in Austria, but also in Europe, can feel safe and can feel home there. But you're absolutely right. The last few years have changed things in a very negative way. I think there was always some kind of anti-Semitism from the past, but I think we were very successful in fighting it. But the problem that I see today is that you have a totally different phenomenon. You have a lot of newly imported anti-Semitism, and these mainly radical Islamist anti-Semites from other parts of the world, they join forces with some crazy leftists in Europe. And this is a totally new phenomenon that we have to face, but it's a very dangerous one. And
So how do we break this green-red alliance? What's the strategy here?
Well, I think it's not easy to break it immediately, but I think it's important that we fight it. It's important that we don't look the other way. And I think it's also important that that we make clear that in a country where you have freedom of speech, and of course where everybody can have his opinion, that doesn't mean that anti-Semitism is okay. And I think the best way to fight this is to show how ridiculous this new alignment is between radical Islamists on one hand and groups like Queer for Palestine on the other hand. It's really a ridiculous combination, and I'm very happy that there are today many people from the center-right, that there are many politicians in Europe, that there are many intellectuals, like we heard the professor before, who are fighting these new forms of anti-Semitism, because I think even if the group has become bigger, and even if it's sometimes tough, it's an important fight, and I'm very committed to that.
Amazing. So, you live in politics and decided to build a new startup. Why Israel?
I left politics 4 years ago, and
well, we all hope that you one day.
I pretty much enjoy the life in private sector now, but so I left politics 4 years ago, and at the beginning I worked like most former politicians as an advisor, but then I wanted to do something more entrepreneurial, so I traveled around and thought I should look for people that could be good partners to start something. I went to a few places in the US, and I also thought it might be a good idea to go to Tel Aviv. There, thanks God, I met by accident Shalef Julio, who has a strong track record in the cyber field in Tel Aviv. And I kind of liked him so much that after spending some time with him, I told him, look, I would love to do something together with you, not offensive cyber, not NSO, but if you want to do something else one day in your life, then please give me a call and let's do something together. Then I went home again, didn't hear from him for a few weeks, so I didn't expect a lot. But then a few months later, he left his previous company, and I was literally the first one whom he called. And he asked me, do you still want to do something together? And I said, of course. So I traveled to Tel Aviv again. It took us a while, and then we figured out that probably the best idea would be to take all the knowledge that he and people around him had from the offensive cyber and combine it with the superpower of AI in order to build solutions to protect states, but also nations and critical infrastructure. We started 3 years ago, now also moved to the sovereign AI field, and it has been an incredible journey. I'm happy to work with many Israelis. We have nearly 300 employees now, most of them here based in Tel Aviv, but also offices in Abu Dhabi and Vienna. And it's a great experience. I like it. At the beginning, culture-wise, we had some difficulties. We are close to the Germans, so for every meeting I was 15 minutes early. For every meeting he was at least 15 minutes late. So it took us a while, but I pretty much enjoy working with him and of course the team, and I'm very happy to be here once a month.
Sebastian Kurz, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.